Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Hawk Blogger Mornings. I am Brian Emhauser, and it is a perfect Tuesday morning here as we get ready for the first day of Seahawks mandatory minicamp. That will happen later today around midday. And then Mike McDonald will give the first of two straight press conferences, back-to-back days. I'm sure Coach McDonald is thrilled to be talking to the media back-to-back days today and tomorrow. So I'll get to ask him some questions. We'll get to hear from him. I'll hopefully also get to speak to a Seahawk, do another player interview. And if you want to get immediate access to that player interview, you'll want it to be a club level or higher member here on YouTube. We are up over 20,000 subscribers here. You might as well be a member as well. Club level or higher, get you access to the Discord channel and to those player interviews as soon as they drop. We've got a lot to go over today. I could have gone a bunch of directions for this episode. I decided to stick with something I've been kind of curious about because this Seahawks schedule is riddled with former Seahawks and former Seahawk connections. And I'm going to go through all of them with you. You might be surprised. You'll know some of them, obviously, because we've talked about them a lot. But there are a lot of former Seahawks on this schedule. And I want to talk about, what are those reunions going to be like? Are these going to be games where it is a grudge match? Are these going to be games where it's kind of a happy competitive reunion? And I think it'll be fun to kind of go through the schedule and look at it in that light. So we'll do that here in a little bit. But before we get there, there is some Seahawks news of note. Michael Dickson signed a contract extension, reported by Mike Garafolo this morning, right as I was, not sleeping as late as I would have liked to. He reported that the Seahawks have agreed to terms with Michael Dickson on a 4-year, $16.2 million extension. Sources say to make him again the NFL's highest paid punter. He's now signed through 2029. And I tweeted, just in case you are curious as well, that Michael Dickson was due to count $4.25 million against the cap this year. Normally, when they do extensions, that will lower your current year's cap number. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case here, but if it is, I think it could potentially open up a couple $1 million more in cap space for the Seahawks, who already have plenty of cap space that they're working with. I don't think it's a sign of anything or a signal. This was the last year of Michael Dickson's deal. This is typically the year when the Seahawks look to do extensions. I'll probably do a whole show on other guys that could get extended this month because June is the month of extensions. John Schneider's talked to us about it. This is generally when they do it. Guys that are in the last year of their deal. And there's a number of guys on that list we can talk about another time. But the obvious one that could be next and is at least worth mentioning here would be Jason Myers. And I'm going to talk a little bit about Michael Dickson before I get to the main event here. But Jason Myers is due to count $6.8 million against the cap this year. He is in the final year of his deal. An extension there would save, number of probably $3-4 million, I would guess at least. And actually, I'm looking at his deal. It's not the final year of his deal. He has one more year. He has a 2026 year on his contract. So I correct myself there. I could have sworn he was in the last year of his deal. He is not. So probably not, but they could if they wanted to. So let's get back to the Michael Dickson piece here. And I'll say this about Michael Dickson, he came in with a ton of fanfare, obviously made the Pro Bowl right away as a rookie. And I want to double check something. And he was an All-Pro as a rookie. He has not made the Pro Bowl or an All-Pro team in any season since. And one of the things that I look at, going back to that rookie year, he had a very low touchback percentage. One of the things you might remember about Michael Dickson is he had this amazing ability to down the ball inside the 20. And so back then, one of the numbers I look at, yes, I do look at numbers for punters. I'm sick that way. His touchback percentage was only 6.4% as a rookie in 2018. Yeah, it's been a while. Can you believe he's been with the team that long? Anyway, so 6.4%. There's only been one other season that Michael Dickson has been as low as he was his rookie year in his touchback percentage. That was in 2022 when he was at 4.5%. Every other year he's been higher. And in fact, the last couple of years, including last year, he was more than twice that number. Well, that is not totally accurate. Last year it was 11.8%, but it was roughly double his rookie season's touchback percentage. So I've noticed that as a fan and as a media member that more of his punts are going into the end zone. And I'm kind of curious about why. And that's a pretty significant difference in terms of how many touchbacks or a percentage of kicks that are touchbacks. So, not sure if that's a technique thing, if if that's something else that's changed. His punts inside the 20 have been relatively stable. And in fact, his punts inside the 20, last year, 40.8%. And if you look at the Seahawks overall last year, they're inside the 20 percentage. They were like 15th. So, if you're looking at a punter, and these punting inside the 20 is not a total, just a punter specific stat, because the offense is, depending on where the offense is stalling, gives a punter a better or worse chance to actually get the ball inside the 20. But the fact of the matter is, the Seahawks were middle of the pack last year in that number. And I think that's a pretty important one, because the percentage chance of you scoring when your drive starts further away from the end zone decreases. And like, I could show you this in another episode, but it is, it is very clear that the worse field position you start with, the worse your chances are that you are going to score points. So I think about Michael Dickson. I used to think about him as a weapon. I'm not sure I think about him as a weapon the same way I used to. That being said, the Seahawks ended up fifth, tied for fourth in net yards per punt last year. They were tied for fourth in yards per punt last year. So those are both good top 5 numbers. I don't have some major problem with this deal. I'll also offer, can't say I've ever looked at punter grades on PFF. Michael Dickson was the top graded punter last year by PFF. He had a 93.7 grade. I don't know exactly how they determined that. From a hang time perspective, Michael Dickson was tied for fourth. He averaged 4.53 seconds per punt. So that's good. Otherwise, yards per return, I don't know if there's anything else here that's that interesting. But that's the deal. So I think Michael Dickson is now going to be a Seahawk for a little while longer, at least the next 4 years, and is the NFL's highest paid punter. There are some other bits of news that have come out, and I might as well touch on these. So we have yesterday, one of the things that happened a little bit after my show, Jermaine Pratt, the starting linebacker for the Cincinnati Bengals, he was cut. He was released by the Bengals. And Jermaine Pratt's a guy that I liked a few years ago. He really has kind of struggled since then. I'm taking a look right now just to see if my memory is serving me. He is 29 years old. He's 6'3", 250 pounds. So a larger off-ball linebacker. And at the time, he was, when he was a free agent, he was a really good coverage backer. I think he's kind of fallen back to the pack. I don't think he's a guy the Seahawks probably will look at. But my goodness, PFF has been having some problems lately. It's very annoying, especially for something you're paying money for. But okay. Other things that are happening that are of interest. So Dolphins tight end Jonnu Smith and Jalen Ramsey will not be at mandatory minicamp, according to head coach Mike McDaniel of the Miami Dolphins. Jonnu Smith wants a new contract. Ramsey and the Dolphins are seeking a trade. The Jonnu Smith thing continues to be one to watch because Noah Fant could be on the move at some point. And if one of these teams deals a tight end, they could be in the market for one. I think that could make a lot of sense. So keep an eye on that. We also saw that Trey Hendrickson is not going to report to Bengals minicamp. So he is out, and there was, let's see, there was something else. Oh, the Terry McLaurin thing. We haven't talked about that much. I'll touch on this briefly. I think, Terry McLaurin is not going to attend minicamp. He's frustrated with his contract. There have been some people that are like, oh, maybe the 49ers will trade for Terry McLaurin. They'll trade Brandon Ayuk. Terry McLaurin wants a new contract. The 49ers just paid Brandon Ayuk a new contract. The ownership was not happy with the Brandon Ayuk contract. Partially, I don't see them trading for an older receiver and then giving him a new contract. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't think Terry McLaurin's going to be traded. I think he's a great fit in Washington. I think they will figure out a deal. I think it would be a big mistake for them to take a player that was a huge part of Jaden Daniels' ascension as a rookie and move him. So I don't think he is going to go anywhere. And if you're wondering about the Seahawks, I don't think adding, as much as I love Scary Terry, I don't think it makes sense to add another aging receiver when you've already got, MVS and Cooper Kupp on the roster. So I don't think that makes a ton of sense. Anything else going around one of the other interesting things, Shamar Stewart, who's a guy who I told you I thought was incredibly talented based on what my eyes were showing me. He still is refusing to practice. He is still working out contract language, and he's just going to be watching. So Seahawks may have dodged a bullet there if there's any consideration. And there had to be, because they did bring him out for a visit. And we know that they also met with him at the combine. So that's the main thing. Oh, we do have from Diana Rossini saying that 6 teams have made immediate inquiries into Jaire Alexander availability upon his release from the Packers. We don't know what those 6 teams are, but I still don't think the Seahawks are probably going to be one of them. Okay. So that is your quick round the table update on NFL news. And I want to share some important news here. This is critical, and I'm going to try to keep sharing this stuff because I want to make sure we're making an impact. So over at HBTix, the Hawk Blogger Ticket Exchange, we have tons of tickets available, and we have our first 4 tickets to the 49ers game, week 1. This is why this thing exists. We want Seahawks fans in the seats for the 49ers game, week 1. These are Seahawks fans that are selling their tickets because they want them to go to other Seahawks fans. They're listing them here. So make sure, I'm going to highlight these 2 tickets. These are for David Bruce. He's got a great note here. They're expecting twin girls. Good luck, David, on that. So they're not likely to be able to go to the early season games. He's selling these at face value, and he wants them to go to a Seahawks fan. So make sure you check these out. Section 327. I love the 300 level personally. I wouldn't sit anywhere else, but that's just me. We've also got a pair of tickets from Tobacado. I don't know Tobacado, but I would advise you to do all the things in the FAQ to verify who these people are. He's got 2 seats in section 339. And again, you can message the person directly through the HB Ticket Exchange, get information. Let's get you in these seats. Let's get you going to the season opener against the 49ers. Let's get as many Seahawks fans in these seats as possible. You'll see a bunch of tickets up there, dozens of seats available. We've had many tickets already sold. So head on over to hbtix.com, either list your tickets, buy some tickets, vouch for a Seahawks fan. Let's keep this going as we are trying to get as many Seahawks fans in seats as possible. All right. So let's talk about the main focus of this episode, which is familiar faces in new places. And I went through and I looked at this, and I got to admit, I was even a little taken aback by how many guys are in new places that the Seahawks are facing. And honestly, it starts with the first preseason game. Now, there's actually a bunch of tickets available for this preseason game up on HB Tix, but Pete Carroll, Geno Smith, like first game. Now it's a preseason game, but it's the first game, and it's gonna be a home game. And who knows? This could be Pete Carroll's last chance to be, cheered for by Seahawks fans, live in the stadium. Don't know how long he's going to be with the Raiders. Don't know when the Raiders are next going to come here, but that's going to be cool. I don't expect Geno Smith is going to play in that game, but who knows? Pete does things kind of old-fashioned, and he might want his starters to get a few snaps. And I am really curious. I'm going to put a poll because I'm so curious what people think is going to happen. I am really curious whether you think people will. I mean, they're obviously going to cheer for Pete, so I'm not that curious about it. Will Geno Smith, if Geno Smith plays, will he be cheered or booed? So if Geno plays in preseason, will he be cheered or booed? And cheered, booed. I don't know if I'm spelling booed right, but you'll understand which one it's meant to be. So the poll's live here on the chat on YouTube. If you're watching anywhere else, you should always watch on YouTube. It's the best experience for watching the show. And I would cheer for Geno. But if I had to guess, I think there'll be more boos. Plus boos are easier to hear. I don't know if he's going to be welcomed back in Seattle. And it's always kind of complicated because there's so many different narratives. Did Geno force his way out? Did he not want to be here? Was he mistreated? Was he underappreciated? Depending on your perspective, you can go a bunch of different ways. So far in the poll, it is like 50-50. It's leaning a little bit more towards booing, 52-48 right now. And I think that's like, I'm really curious about that one. And I think the Pete Carroll homecoming is going to be really cool. If there's a preseason game to go to, that would certainly be the one just for that reason alone. I think Pete it deserves a huge, huge ovation, and I'm sure he will get one. Really, really cool. And I think exciting to see that that's going to happen. It continues like right in week 1 of the regular season. Now, you might not think about this one because it's not nearly as impactful as Pete Carroll and Geno Smith being someplace new, but Trey Brown, the former starting corner, former draft pick for the Seahawks, has signed with the 49ers. And so you will, as it stands right now, depending on what happens with Jaire Alexander or Jalen Ramsey, some of these, like a lot of the odds have the 49ers being the team to go after some of these guys, but there is a decent chance that Trey Brown will be playing against the Seahawks in week 1. And I look at Trey Brown. And, yeah, I'm sure for him, it's going to be a revenge game. He wants to prove to the Seahawks that he is better than they gave him credit for when they did not re-sign him or offer him a new deal. I think Trey feels like he played through some injuries last year and really through a lot of his career in Seattle. And he's shown some high-level corner play when he's been healthy. So that one's going to be, right in week 1. And then week 2, it continues. Not a surprise. We know what's going on there. DK Metcalf. So DK Metcalf will be week 2 with the Steelers, and that will be in Pittsburgh. Now, I don't know if there's bad blood there. That one's an interesting one. And I think there's the team and the player, and then there's fans. So with fans, I generally think people are cheering against DK Metcalf. And let's do another poll here. By the way, the poll about whether Geno will be cheered or booed if he plays in the preseason game right now is 55% that he'll be cheered. That's interesting with 40 votes in. Well, let's do another poll. And I want to know, are you rooting for DK for or against DK? Rooting for, rooting against. I think that fans are generally rooting against DK Metcalf. I think they're rooting for Pete Carroll, like almost 100% of them. But I think that a lot of people are rooting against DK Metcalf. And I think if this was a home game, if DK Metcalf was coming here, I think there might be more boos. Like DK Metcalf forced his way out. That is very clear. Geno Smith officially never requested a trade. John Schneider said that clearly when we asked him about it. He did not request a trade. They just, I'm not going to rehash all that anyway, but DK did. The Seahawks wanted to keep DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf did not want to be kept. He wanted a fresh start. He forced a trade. So I'm looking at the poll right now, and I'm not wrong with the votes piling in by a 3-1 margin. 76% are saying they're rooting against DK Metcalf. So right away, week 2, you get a grudge match, at least from a fan perspective. I don't think it's a grudge match from a player or a team perspective. I don't think the teammates are going to be, I think they're going to be happy to see DK. I think he's going to be happy to see them. I think there's going to be a lot of hugs and smiles. I don't think John Schneider has a grudge. I think he's hurt that DK Metcalf did not want to stay, but I don't think that there's bad blood between the team and the player in this case. So I think there'll be, like obviously you always want to beat whoever you're going against, and there'll be that going on, but I don't think this is going to be that kind of game. From a fan perspective, I think it's very different. I think a lot of people would love to see DK Metcalf just have to sit with the repercussions of his decision. And I mean, with Aaron Rodgers signed now, you don't think he's going to be injured by week 2, probably. So he'll be there most likely. And you're going to be talking about whether or not, like, it's only going to be the second game. Who knows how well they're going to be playing, how that offense is going to be running. It could be an interesting kind of comparison of two offenses in transition with new quarterbacks, new receivers, and kind of fascinated by that one. I mean, for a lot of reasons, that game is going to be fascinating. So that's week 2. So we've already got first preseason game, week 1, 49ers, week 2, Steelers. And then you skip a few. And I admit it is very possible that I've missed some connections. I'm not going through every single player that could be a connection, but I'm going through, like, I'm going to list a decent amount of these. So Like, I'm not going to go back to the Cardinals and LJ Collier. Like, we've done that already. I'm talking about, maybe in the last, like, either this year they've changed or the Seahawks haven't played them since this player moved over. So the next team that jumps to mind is the Houston Texans. Can any of you guess who the reunion, game is going to be on with the Texans? It's one player. It's one player. Can you guess it? He signed as a free agent. He was a starter for the Seahawks last season. He may be a starter for the Texans this season. If you guessed Laken Tomlinson, you are correct. Yes, Laken Tomlinson, the Seahawks legend of one season here in Seattle. He will be coming back to Seattle with the Houston Texans. And who knows if he's going to be playing or not. I got to tell you, I loved Laken Tomlinson as a person. He was fantastic. He and his wife were really cool. I think he is a great guy. He did his job as well as he was able to last year. I don't think he is a high-level starter. I've never claimed otherwise. But as far as a person, there's certainly no bad blood there. This one's not going to get any conversation, most likely, but it is going to be a familiar face in a new place in week 7 against the Texans on Monday Night Football. Then you go to the Commanders in what will be week 9 after the bye week. And there's a lot of reunions happening in this one. You have got Bobby Wagner for the first time in a Washington Commanders uniform playing the Seahawks. Obviously, the Seahawks have played him when he was with the Rams. That was no fun. Bobby always brings it against his former team. He's had some amazing games against the Seahawks. You also have 3 other connections on the Commanders. Can you remember the other 3 connections on the Commanders? Obviously, the head coach, Dan Quinn, DQ. So his first chance to coach against his former team with the Commanders, at least. He did it when he was with the Falcons, but that will be a fun reunion. There's, I think, a lot of mutual respect and love there. 2 others. Can you guess? Yes, people are saying Ken Norton Jr. I'm sure there are some people on the staff. I didn't go through the whole coaching staff, but Nick Bellore. Somebody got it. GG Roids got it. Yes, Nick Bellore is on the Washington Commanders. And one other player who is a deep pull. And you might not even consider this one to track, but, I was always a fan. Jacob Martin. That guy, the Seahawks have faced him when he went to the Texans, he was with the Bears last year. He's now with the Commanders. We'll see, assuming he makes it there. Jacob Martin will be a reunion. So I think all those will be relatively happy. I think Bobby, it's always a grudge match. I think he always feels like he's got something to prove, but generally a happy reunions there. You go to week 11 against the Los Angeles Rams. Can you guess who the reunion player will be there? This is not as straightforward, and I'm guessing you might not think about it because it's been a few teams removed from being a Seahawk. I see someone saying Tyler Ott. I should look up where Tyler Ott is because it's possible I missed. Maybe Tyler Ott is going to be a reunion player for the Seahawks. He is, yes, he's on the Washington Commanders. So add him to the list. Tyler Ott, the grudge match with the former long snapper. Great pull. Thank you, Jeff Langston, for catching that one. I missed that one. So the Rams, I see people guessing Colby Parkinson. Well, they already played Colby Parkinson last year. So yes, it is a reunion kind of game, but I don't count that because they already played him in the Rams uniform. But that is a fair and not necessarily inaccurate guess. But I do see some people guessing it correct. 12 for life has it there. Poona Ford, his first time facing his former team as a Ram. And I'm trying to think, has Poona actually faced the Seahawks on a new team yet? I mean, they didn't play the Chargers last year. when he was with the Bills, I don't know that he was even playing. Um, and I don't know if the Seahawks played him with the Bills. So I think this might be the first time that Poona Ford will play against the Seahawks with a new team. I could be wrong. That one's an interesting one. I don't know how the team and the player are there. I would guess Poona Ford would like to stick it to his old team. They let him go, and he's probably one of the only examples of John Schneider letting a player go where it was really performance related. The price was not too high for Poona Ford when he went elsewhere. But I think the team kind of decided, yeah, maybe this isn't going to work out. And then that player went on to be a very good player. Like, he had a great year for the Chargers last year, signed a big deal with the Rams. Not a lot of examples of John Schneider walking away from lower priced, drafted or undrafted, in this case, talent, and then having that be a regret. Like, and I would guess that's a regret for them at this point. I think Poona Ford would be a guy they would rather have than, probably an aging Jonathan Hankins. But they could have signed him. They could have signed him, but they chose not to and pay him this money. So who knows? Maybe not. So Poona Ford adds to the list. Then, man, the next week 12 against the Tennessee Titans. This one's going to be fascinating because now you've got, everyone knows Tyler Lockett, right? Tyler Lockett, that's going to be wild. A top 50 Seahawk. So you've got two top 50 Seahawks in Bobby Wagner and Tyler Lockett, and three, DK Metcalf, Bobby Wagner, Tyler Lockett, you will face on teams that are not the Seahawks in this season. That's kind of crazy. So Tyler Lockett, that will be, that was coming. Everybody saw it coming. I think that will be a lot of love in both directions. Then there's two more. And the other two are Draymond Jones. And I would bet you Draymond Jones would like to stick it to the Seahawks. I don't think that he's like angry at the Seahawks. They paid him a ton of money. They signed him in free agency, but I think he feels like he was probably not utilized properly or put in positions to succeed. And I would bet he'd be very motivated to make plays against the Seahawks in this one. The last person on the Titans that I was able to find, an old friend, Cody Barton, the linebacker. He is on the roster. So you've got Tyler Lockett, Draymond Jones, and Cody Barton on that Titans reunion roster. Then you got the Vikings in week 13. Can anybody guess who's the guy that probably won't play, but will be coming back to Seattle? Can you guess who on the Vikings is going to be a former Seahawk that's coming back to Seattle? This one's a recent one, so it's probably, he wasn't here that long to begin with. If you guessed Sam Howell, and El Presidente Margs did, yes, Sam Howell is the guy that will be coming back to Seattle. Probably not playing, but who knows? Who knows what happens with JJ McCarthy? We will see. So there's a chance for Sam Howell to come back. I don't think there's any real bad blood there. Of course, I think Sam Howell would love to show any team that he played for why they made a mistake by letting him go. But that's the Vikings. Now, the Falcons, this is not a reunion, but this is really an aside. This is like a step to the side. Michael Penix, seeing Michael Penix Jr., I think that, given the Northwest connection, that's going to be a really interesting kind of, fresh face in a new place from a Washington perspective, not necessarily a Seahawk perspective. But then you get to the Panthers all the way in week 17. And my goodness, the connections in the Panthers building are significant. Damian Lewis, his first game against his former team, that will come in week 17 in Carolina. I don't know. There'll be a little bit of bad blood. Like, I think John Schneider has been almost blatantly calling out the Damian Lewis contract a bad contract. He might argue with that, but I think when he talked, he said enough things where if you put the context clues together about what contracts he's questioning, it sure seems like he's been questioning the Damian Lewis deal. So I'm sure Damian Lewis, like as much as you can show out against a former team as an offensive lineman, I think he would love to play well against his former team. You've got the two guys in charge, Dan Morgan, the GM, and Dave Canales, the coach. Those guys obviously have deep Seahawks connections. Dan Morgan was a scout for many years. Great guy. Super happy for Dan to be a GM in Carolina. And then Dave Canales, who obviously, came from the Pete Carroll tree and is having some success to some extent, in Tampa Bay and now in Carolina. There are three other players. Okay, there's three other players that are going to be connections in Carolina. And I'm guessing you're not going to guess any of these. David Moore, the receiver. I don't know if he's going to make the team, but he's been added to the roster. Mike Jackson, the cornerback who the Seahawks traded to Carolina last year, and Carolina signed him to a deal. He played pretty well. That one, I think there's going to be a little bad blood. I think Mike Jackson always plays with a chip on his shoulder. I think he's going to absolutely be looking to show his old team a thing or two. And the last one, I don't know if he'll make the roster or not. I didn't actually know he was on the Panthers roster until I did this exercise. John Radigan, the old Army linebacker, is on the roster. Special teams player and backup inside backer is on the Panthers. So John Radigan, all love there. I don't think there'll be any reason for bad blood. But think about all those names that I just went through that the Seahawks are going to face in this season. It is going to be a constant stream of old Seahawks in new places. The fact that you're going to talk about playing three top 50 Seahawks of all time in different uniforms is wild. I mean, think about when Jerry Rice played for the Seahawks or Franco Harris played for the Seahawks. You've got all these kind of examples. Adrian Peterson played for the Seahawks, right? Like these odd end of career memories. That's a little bit the case with Tyler Lockett, obviously with Bobby Wagner. DK Metcalf's early in his career still, or at least middle of his career. But to have three of those matchups is crazy. Not to mention your, probably only Hall of Fame coach, at least at this point, when Pete Carroll gets there, your only Super Bowl winning coach, your former starting quarterback, your only starting quarterback to get an MVP vote, I believe, ever. I might be wrong, but Geno Smith, yes, Geno Smith got an MVP vote in 2022, I believe. And no, Russell Wilson never got an MVP vote. And that's because they changed the voting rules. So it's a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek thing, but it's kind of wild how many former Seahawks are going to be on the docket for this season. And I think a lot of them are going to play meaningful roles in the outcomes of those games. So kind of fun to think about that, kind of fun to see what's going to come from those matchups and how they will go. By the way, today is the last day that I am able to offer this amazing deal on the Extra Pro wallet, the smart wallet, EKSTER. The link is in the description of the video. This super slim wallet, nice leather. You've got a billfold. And the best part for my money is this button right here that when you press it, pushes out your cards so you can get access to your credit cards, your ID, all that stuff. Plus, you've got this awesome Finder card that will allow you to Find My iPhone and find your wallet wherever it is. Use code HAWK, HAWK, get 50% off. Perfect Father's Day gift. Don't have to think twice about it. Order now. Get it in time to give to your dad, to your granddad. How many times does your grandfather potentially lose his wallet and would love to have something that finds it? You can help him out. So use code HAWK at exter.com. Also, head on over to jkboots.com. Haven't shown this in a while. We are still doing this promotion. I have not stopped it yet. Use code HawkBlogger. You get $75 off the best boots you will ever own. I love my JK boots, made by hand in the state of Washington, in Spokane, family-owned company. Not only do you get $75 off for using code HawkBlogger, we will also donate $15 for every purchase to the Wildland Firefighters Foundation to keep our Northwest forest firefighters safe, well-equipped, so that they can protect the Northwest and keep it as beautiful as we know and love it to be. I was out there hiking yesterday at, I think it was Twin Falls with my pup, and man, gorgeous day, gorgeous state, gorgeous region. Could not ask for more than we get here in the Northwest. Head on over to JK Boots, use code HawkBlogger. Keep it that way. Keep it that way and get a pair of boots while you're at it. Why not? You notice all the leather goods. I guess I'm a leather guy. I didn't know that. But all this leather stuff on my pod. So take advantage of that. All right. Well, as I said, I will be at Seahawks mandatory minicamp later today, right around noon. I will then be hopefully interviewing a Seahawks player and be talking to Mike McDonald during his press conference, and they'll have some other players available for press conference as well. So keep an eye out on that. Tomorrow morning will be, I don't know exactly how I'm going to work it. So tomorrow is a birthday for me, and I'm going to be out on the golf course early so that I can get some golf in before the next mandatory minicamp practice, which is tomorrow at noon. But I'm planning to have some content for you guys. If nothing else, you will have the full interviews that I do this afternoon available tomorrow morning. I will see if I can also record a little bit more than that, maybe go over some of the stuff we get in the press conference and have that. So that will be a video instant premiere tomorrow. I'll get that all set and ready for you. So keep an eye out for that tomorrow morning. And then again, I will be at mandatory minicamp tomorrow. We'll have more conversations with Mike McDonald and other players and more Seahawks player interviews. So the next couple of days, make sure you're tuning in. Make sure you click subscribe. Go to patreon.com/HawkBlogger. Get ad-free audio for this show each and every day. Also get access to the Discord channel where the conversations are going on all the time, and also get you verified as a patron on HB Ticket Exchange, hbtix.com. Lots of reasons to be a patron. A great reason to help support. For folks that know, I am paying a lot of money a month out of my pocket to have the HawkBlogger Ticket Exchange up there, hosted, working. And you guys being a patron, hopefully you get something out of it. I also get a little bit of help with the costs for this. If you just want to help without joining as a patron, just tell people about it. Like, let's get I want as many thousands of Seahawks fans on that as possible. Make sure you tell everyone you know about hbtix.com. 49ers fans are making their travel plans now, and they're buying tickets now. So if you want to go to that game, buy those tickets now, sell those tickets through the ticket exchange here so that we get as many Seahawks fans in the seats for week 1 as possible. All right, everybody, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. I will see you all a little bit later. Until the next time, I'm Brian Nemhauser. This has been another episode of HawkBlogger Mornings. Take care, y'all.